Happy Friday, everyone. Well, we are bringing a topic how menopause affects different women of color from ethnic point of view, diversity, cultural, all that good stuff. Talk about this. We have founder of Menopause Modern, Kamili. She has been a champion for the last few years, putting her blogging information, all kind of articles to really bring how menopause is different for minority women in this country. Thank you so much for coming to me.
I'm so excited to be with you today and have this conversation. So looking forward to talking about it.
Great. So let's just talk about in this country, let's talk about Latino and African American women. And then also we want to talk about how menopause is different for Caucasian women and also Asian women. So I'm going to have you start with the Latino and African American, and then I will bring in some Asian perspective.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me to have the discussion. One of the things that I do think it's very important to emphasize is that half the global population goes through menopause. It's a natural biological process, and physically, everyone's and scientifically, everyone's menopause process is the same. That said, the way that women experience menopause is drastically different. And what research has shown, particularly through the SWAN study of women across the nation, has shown is that particularly in the US, while the average age that women reach menopause is 51 years old, for Latina and Black women in the US, we tend to reach menopause on average 2 years earlier. And we also tend to experience more severe symptoms over a longer period of time, meaning our perimenopause phase tends to be longer, can go anywhere from 7 to 10 years. And that's not to say that white women don't experience challenging symptoms during menopause, but due to the psychosocial factors that Latina and Black women are experienced to, those are all of the inputs from outside, what's going on in their physical environment, what's going on in their social environment, family environment, community, and the economic stressors of everyday life. Those are really what's at play in kind of the intensity and the duration of how Black and Latino women in the US experience menopause transition distinctively different.
So I read the research as well and echo the same findings. Interestingly, do you think the diet also has an impact on the Latino and African American women, because the kind of diet they're not aware of healthy diet? That's probably because of the educational. Do you want to comment on that a little bit?
I do, and I, with the caveat, I'm not a medical expert, I'm not a nutritionist. What I will say is that there are other factors at play, right, that are affecting our health at any given time. And so while our diet and lifestyle are not causal for what we may experience during menopause transition, they certainly can exacerbate what we're experiencing. So speaking personally, when I began experiencing, I'm 49, I'm still actively in perimenopause. I've been in perimenopause for about 7 years. And so when I first started experiencing my earliest symptoms at age 43, night sweats, hot flashes, bloating. I was curious myself, just general fatigue, about the role of lifestyle and diet. And so I made concerted efforts to make modifications into my diet after doing a lot of research, how we need more protein during our menopause transition, less refined sugar, which was challenging for me because I enjoy sugar. But I was able, with that information, to start to make smart choices and track what was going on with me. So for example, like I said, I enjoy sweet things. I enjoy sugar. If I had something sweet after 7 o'clock, I was likely going to have a night sweat. I indulge in a cocktail every now and then. I enjoy tequila. If I have a cocktail after 6 o'clock, I'm likely going to have a night sweat. So these are things that, and sometimes I make the trade-off and I know that that's what's going to be. And other times it does stop me and I'm informed around kind of what some of the triggers are for some of the symptoms that I'm experiencing. So again, while they're not causal, I don't want to leave your audience thinking that because Latina and Black women in the U.S. may not have the healthiest, diet or lifestyle. That is definitely not the cause. It is related, but it's not causal.
Sure. And I want to add in a perspective from Asian, specifically Indian women in this particular, because I'm come from India originally. Mm-hmm. So interestingly, the Indian women reach menopause at the age of 47. Can you believe it? 5 or 6 years earlier than a normal in India. I'm not sure here. I don't have the data here.
No, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, I'm familiar with that stat. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you want to comment on effects of early menopause that it can have what kind of a drastic impact it can have on women's health? Do you feel comfortable talking about this, the early menopause? Because that's true in Black women as well as in Indian women.
Absolutely. I think the biggest challenge is a lack of awareness, is even knowing that a lack of awareness and understanding around what menopause really is. And that it's about more than just one day we stop having our period, right? There are all of these symptoms, at least 34 seems to be the consistently recognized number of symptoms associated with menopause transition. And when I say menopause transition, that is perimenopause, that time leading up to menopause. Menopause is technically one day that you experience after 12 months of not experiencing your menstrual cycle. And the rest of that time is postmenopause. And so symptoms don't just go away, though, in postmenopause for some women. They can become exacerbated and symptoms can continue on for years. And so I don't think that many women, at least through my experience, those that I've interviewed, that I've spoken with, certainly my own experience, not prepared to experience such potentially life impacting symptoms at such an early age. As I mentioned, it was about 6 years ago, I was 43 years old and working and very healthy, and began experiencing things like mood swings, irritability, fatigue, anxiety. These were things that were affecting not just my personal life, but my professional life, and causing concern and some frustration around how am I supposed to manage this very stressful life, a working mom on a career trajectory with kind of these new stressors, only to, through my own research, come to kind of put together that I was going through perimenopause. So I think education is key. With Gen X and millennials aging into this life stage, for them to know that symptoms can start as early as their late 30s, 38, and they can last for up to a decade, with education and information, right? And what does it look like to make lifestyle modifications? What supplements are you taking? How can you add supplements, science-backed supplements, to your lifestyle routine? How can you make modifications in your diet so that some of the symptoms are a little less intense and not controlling your life?
Absolutely. And we are not talking about hormone replacement therapy. That's a very controversial topic here. Here today's session is all about the information and please share the work that you are doing, about your website, about your blog, that all the information that you are making it available for all the women of color. So please, I would love that. Share all that information.
Yeah. Thank you. So I started Menopause Made Modern about 4 or 5 years ago, and I really started blogging about my firsthand experience when I began, as I said, going through my own, experiencing my own symptoms in my early 40s. I found a gap in information. There was no one who could help me, not even my doctor, in terms of what was going on with me. So I was, and I had a relationship with an OBGYN since I was 13. I started menstruating at 11, began seeing an obstetrician gynecologist when I was 13. And here I was 43 and had never had a conversation about what to expect at this life stage, what perimenopause was, what menopause was. So that was one. I was left a little disillusioned by my relationship with my doctor and not being prepared. And then two, when I was researching it myself, I was struck by, excuse me, the lack of visual representation of what women going through menopause transition actually look like. At the time, all of the imagery was of much older, white, Eurocentric women, white-haired women looking very sad or confused. And so that was counter to what I was experiencing. I couldn't find images of women in their 40s, 50s who were still actively working or raising children. With half the global population, why are all of the images of white women? And so it became really important for me to focus on curating content, creating content, telling the stories and amplifying the stories of women of color so that we can see ourselves, excuse me, in the conversation.
I think it's beautiful, and such an amazing work that you have done and you're doing. It's so important, and that's what we are trying to do at Nourish Talk. Is millions of women out there, they don't understand what has hit them. It's like crashing the plane kind of a thing suddenly, and then you can't focus at work. All kind of things happen. So that's what we are trying to come and support you. Kamili is here. We are here trying to support women of all color with information that's trusted, and also we're launching programs. So that's what I wanted to say. That thank you so much for being with me today. It's a quick 10-minute session.
Thank you.
That we bring on a daily basis. Please keep the feedback coming. Thank you. Bye.